The untold story of Denzel Washington's four children. Hollywood is filled with legends, but even in a world of bright lights and unforgettable performances, few names carry as much weight as Denzel Washington. He is more than an actor. He's a force of nature, a man whose career has spanned decades, whose performances have shaped generations, and whose legacy stretches far beyond the silver screen. Yet for all the accolades, the awards, and the timeless roles, Denzel has often said that his most important job isn't in front of a camera, it's at home. He once put it simply, "My greatest accomplishment is that my children are good people." And this is the story behind that quote. The untold story of Denzel Washington's four children, how they were raised in the shadow of greatness, how they faced struggles of their own, and how each of them carved out their own unique path, the weight of a legacy. Before we dive into his children, it's important to understand the man at the center of it all. Because Denzel Washington's journey wasn't just about talent. It was about determination, faith, and a relentless pursuit of excellence that shaped the kind of father he would become. Denzel Hayes Washington, Jr. was born on December 28, 1954, in Mount Vernon, New York. His father, Denzel Sr., was a Pentecostal minister who ran a small church, while his mother, Lennis, owned a beauty salon. Life wasn't always easy. The Washington family worked hard to get by, and the young Denzel grew up in a household that valued discipline, faith, and resilience. But at just 14 years old, his world shifted. His parents divorced, and Denzel often described that time as a crossroads in his life. Many of his childhood friends ended up in trouble with the law, but his mother made a crucial decision. She sent him away to a private school in New York, determined to give him structure and opportunity. Denzel would later say, "I would not be alive if it weren't for my mother. I wouldn't have survived." That sense of gratitude became one of his defining traits as both a man and a father. At Fordham University, Denzel initially had no direction. He tried pre-med, then political science, before stumbling into drama. But once he stepped on stage, everything clicked. He discovered not just a skill, but a purpose. Acting gave him the chance to explore humanity, to communicate truths larger than himself. He earned his degree in drama and journalism in 1977, then pursued further training at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. His career began with small roles in television, but his breakthrough came with the medical drama St. Elsewhere, where he played Dr. Philip Chandler for 6 years. From there, his star only rose. His role as Private Silas Tripp in Glory, 1989, earned him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He followed it with iconic performances in Malcolm X, The Hurricane, Training Day, and Fences, among many others. By the early 1990s, Denzel Washington wasn't just a star. He was a cultural symbol of excellence, strength, and integrity. But while Hollywood celebrated his brilliance, Denzel kept a different focus at home. In 1983, he married Pauletta Pearson, an actress and classically trained pianist he met on the set of the TV movie Wilma. Their love story is one of the most enduring in the industry. Pauletta often jokes that Denzel actually proposed multiple times before she said yes, and that persistence became a hallmark of their marriage. Together, they built a partnership that has lasted more than 40 years, a rarity in Hollywood. Faith was at the center of their family life. Denzel is a devout Christian who has often credited his success to God's guidance. He once said, "Put God first in everything you do. Everything that I have is by the grace of God. Understand that. It's a gift." This wasn't just rhetoric. He lived by those words, and he expected his children to understand them too. As a father, Denzel believed in discipline and accountability. He has admitted to being strict at times, but only because he wanted to prepare his children for a world that wouldn't hand them anything for free. "I'm not their friend. I'm their father," he once said. "If they get out of line, I have no problem getting right in their face." Still, his toughness was balanced by love and support. He showed up at his kids' events, pushed them to pursue education, and constantly reminded them that their character mattered more than their careers. In fact, when his son John David was considering acting, Denzel warned him, "It's not about fame. It's about craft. Don't confuse the two." This mix of toughness, faith, and love became the foundation on which all four Washington children were raised. While Hollywood often breaks families apart, Denzel and Pauletta built theirs to withstand the pressures of fame. They didn't just give their children money or opportunities, they gave them values. And that's why the Washington children's stories aren't just about privilege. They're about resilience, individuality, and the quiet strength of a father who never let his success overshadow his most important role, being a dad. John David Washington. The firstborn, John David Washington, entered the world on July 28, 1984. From the very beginning, there was pressure. Being the son of Denzel Washington meant expectations followed him everywhere. But John David wasn't immediately interested in acting. Instead, his passion was football. At Morehouse College, he became a star running back, racking up records and breaking defenses. His talent earned him a shot at the NFL with the St. Louis Rams, though his career there was short-lived. He then played in NFL Europe and later joined the United Football League with the Sacramento Mountain Lions. But sports, as unpredictable as they are, can end abruptly. Injuries and circumstances forced John David to rethink his future, and that's when the pull of Hollywood began to creep back in. His first significant acting break came with the HBO series Ballers, where he starred alongside Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Audiences were shocked, not just by his talent, but by his command of the screen. This wasn't Denzel Washington's son trying to act. This was John David Washington, a performer in his own right. The real turning point came in 2018 with Spike Lee's BlacKkKlansman. John David played Ron Stallworth, a black detective who infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan. The role earned him a Golden Globe nomination and cemented him as one of Hollywood's rising stars. Since then, he has led Christopher Nolan's Tenet and Netflix's Malcolm and Marie. He has proven again and again that while his father may be a legend, his own career is shaping into something equally remarkable. But the journey wasn't without doubt. John David has admitted that, for years, he kept his acting ambitions secret, even from his parents, because he didn't want anyone to assume his success came from his last name. He wanted to earn it the hard way. Looking back, he has described that choice as terrifying but necessary, because it forced him to fight for every role, every audition, every opportunity. Today, John David Washington stands as proof that even in the shadow of greatness, a child can create a spotlight of their own. Katya Washington. The second child, Katya Washington, was born in 1987. Unlike her brother, Katya wasn't drawn to the spotlight. She didn't crave fame or applause. Instead, she found her calling behind the scenes. After studying at Yale University, Katya entered the film industry not as an actress, but as a producer. She has worked on projects like Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, Nate Parker's The Birth of a Nation, and Denzel's own directorial effort, Fences. Her work often focuses on meaningful, socially conscious projects, a reflection of the values her parents instilled in her. Katya is famously private. She rarely gives interviews, avoids social media, and keeps her personal life out of the spotlight. But for those who know her work, she is considered a quiet powerhouse, a creative force who understands storytelling at its core. Her colleagues describe her as meticulous, detail-oriented, and deeply passionate about the stories she helps bring to life. Unlike her father and siblings, she's not the face audiences see on posters or trailers, but she is the person who ensures those stories come together seamlessly behind the curtain. In Hollywood, where egos often collide, Katya is respected for her humility and professionalism. She has built a reputation not on her last name, but on her ability to deliver results. And in an industry that thrives on recognition, she is content letting the work speak for itself. Denzel has often said that part of being a good father is teaching your children to find their own purpose, their own lane. Katya embodies that lesson perfectly. She may not have chosen the red carpets, but her impact on Hollywood is undeniable. Malcolm Washington. In 1991, the Washington family doubled in size with the arrival of twins Malcolm and Olivia, named after Malcolm X, a man Denzel famously portrayed on screen. Malcolm carried not only a legendary name, but also the weight of expectation. Like his older brother, Malcolm was an athlete. He attended the University of Pennsylvania, where he played basketball for the Quakers. Known for his discipline and leadership, he was respected on and off the court. But much like John David, Malcolm's career eventually shifted toward film. After college, he enrolled in the American Film Institute Conservatory to hone his craft as a filmmaker. Over the years, He has worked as a director, screenwriter, and producer, carving out his own path in the industry. Malcolm's projects may not always make headlines, but within the film community, he is considered a rising talent. His focus is not on fame, but on craft, telling stories that matter, creating work that resonates. He's directed short films that have circulated through festivals, each one showcasing a sharp eye for storytelling and a fresh voice. Insiders say he is patient and calculated, building his career step by step rather than rushing into the limelight. What makes Malcolm stand out is his willingness to do the work quietly without shortcuts. He often speaks about how his parents instilled in him the belief that dreams without discipline are just fantasies. That philosophy has guided him in every creative choice. For Denzel, this was exactly the kind of independence he hoped to inspire in his children, the ability to follow their passion without being swallowed by the glare of Hollywood fame. Olivia Washington. Finally, there's Olivia, the other half of the Washington twins. Born in 1991, Olivia grew up with a love for the arts. Unlike her siblings, she leaned into acting from a young age. Olivia attended New York University's Tisch School of the Arts, one of the most prestigious programs in the country. From there, she began building her career, carefully choosing projects that showcased her range and depth. She has appeared in films such as The Butler, The Comedian, and The Little Things, where she even shared the screen with her father. On television, she has landed roles in series like She's Gotta Have It and P-Valley. Though still early in her career, Olivia has already shown remarkable versatility. Critics have praised her performances for being nuanced and authentic, qualities that remind many of her father's iconic style. But Olivia, like her siblings, is determined to be known for her own talent. She has said that while her father's influence is undeniable, she wants audiences to see her as Olivia Washington, not just Denzel's daughter. She has embraced smaller roles in independent films, understanding that growth often comes from experience rather than immediate stardom. This approach mirrors her father's philosophy of putting in the work, focusing on the craft, and letting success follow naturally. For Olivia, the journey is just beginning, but if her trajectory so far is any indication, she is destined to carve her own lasting place in Hollywood, a family above fame. Together, these four children represent four very different paths: an NFL player turned Hollywood star, a producer shaping stories from behind the scenes, a filmmaker building his vision, and an actress finding her voice. Each one has taken a unique road, but the common thread is undeniable: the grounding influence of their parents. For Denzel and Pauletta Washington, raising children in Hollywood meant navigating a world filled with flashing cameras, red carpets, and constant attention. But inside their home, things were very different. Pauletta was known for being the rock of the family, the one who made sure their children grew up with a sense of normalcy. She cooked meals, set curfews, and instilled in them the same discipline she had learned from her own upbringing. Denzel, for his part, was fiercely protective. He refused to let fame spoil his children. When asked about how he approached parenting, he once said, "I try to teach my kids that if you work hard and are honest, you'll do fine. I don't care what you do for a living, as long as you're the best at it." That meant whether they wanted to be actors, athletes, or artists, the emphasis was never on celebrity, it was on character. It wasn't unusual for Denzel to pull his children aside and remind them of the value of humility. He encouraged them to pursue education first, career second. He often stressed that talent alone wouldn't carry them. Discipline, faith, and perseverance would. In his view, fame without grounding was dangerous. Unlike many celebrity families, the Washington children rarely appeared in tabloids or gossip columns. That wasn't by accident, it was by design. Denzel and Pauletta kept their family private, shielding them from the chaos of Hollywood life. When interviews turned to his children, Denzel often gave short, protective answers, making it clear that family matters belonged to the family, not the press. And that strategy worked. All four Washington children have managed to step into adulthood with dignity, focus, and their own sense of identity. They didn't just inherit their father's name, they inherited his work ethic, his respect for others, and his belief that the world owes you nothing unless you earn it. This is the heart of the Washington story. Yes, Denzel is one of the greatest actors of his generation. Yes, he has played kings, warriors, and icons, but in the quiet corners of his life, away from the spotlight, he built something even greater, a family whose strength doesn't depend on headlines. When people think of Denzel Washington, they think of Oscars. They think of the unforgettable lines, the intense stares, the powerful presence that commands a screen. They think of a man who redefined Hollywood masculinity, who carried films with nothing more than a look or a whisper. But perhaps the more powerful story is this, that behind all of it, the lights, the fame, the awards, Denzel quietly raised 4 children who are thriving in their own ways. Children who are not defined by his shadow, but who shine with their own light. It's tempting to measure legacy in trophies, box office numbers, or magazine covers, but Denzel himself would argue otherwise. His true legacy, he believes, lies in the character of his children. "My greatest accomplishment? My kids are good people," he once said, and when you look at their lives, their choices, their humility, their independence, you see that truth reflected back. The untold story of Denzel Washington's children isn't just about careers or achievements, it's about resilience, about values, about a family that refused to be consumed by the very industry that made them famous. It's about showing that success doesn't have to destroy family. It can strengthen it if the foundation is strong enough. In a world that often celebrates fame above all else, the Washington family stands as proof that the most enduring victories happen at home. So, when we look at Denzel Washington, we see more than a 2-time Academy Award winner. We see more than an icon. We see a father who turned his greatest role into something that will last far longer than any movie ever could. And maybe that's the real untold story, that Denzel Washington's greatest performance was never in front of a camera, but in the everyday act of being a husband, a father, and a guide for the next generation. So, what do you think? Should we explore more untold stories of Hollywood's most famous families? Subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And tell us, which celebrity family should we cover next?